Now I want to ask some more about the book. Obviously you were on the scene at that time, but what kind of research did you do for the book? Did you go to tapes? Did you interview people in person?
I interviewed scores upon scores of people. I went to England, I went to Seattle with his family, you know, a lot in California, Hawaii, you know, Scandinavia, where his last tour was. And I talked to a lot of people in England, which was a very strange place, and New York, of course, you know, here. But at the time I was living in California, so, yeah. But, yeah, I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people, and then found, and then as the years passed, because this was like the first book that came out that really told it like it was, and said that Jimi Hendrix was a genius. He wasn't someone who died of a decadent rock artist, drug OD, which was a fallacy, but he was a true creative spirit who was a genius in music. And of course, this was in the 70s, so it kind of got borne out that people began to, I think, recognize him for the genius that he was. He's a brilliant, brilliant player. One of the guitarists, I don't think anyone has topped him to this day. So he's obviously some kind of, some people regard him as an avatar of a guitar or something.
And now what spurred you to bring it back out in the 21st century?
Well, it had stopped, it's continuously published in England, and it had been continuously published here. I had a dispute with a publisher, and I said, well, look, just give me the book back and I'll just... So then, you know, but then so many books had come out after mine, the original one, right, and I saw how they used my information, which is good, because you want, you know, I wanted him to...
keep it moving along.
Yeah,
right?
But then I said, you know, but then some books came out recently. One said that he had committed suicide. The other one agreed with the original London inquest, which is a total racist whitewash. And I said, look, this can't happen, and it should be out in America.
We're going to get into this. I want to ask you more about it. We are live here on Let Them Talk with David Henderson, who is the author of Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky, Jimi Hendrix Voodoo Child.
And you can call and ask questions too if you like.
If you're a big Hendrix fan or don't know anything about Jimi Hendrix, that's our numbers right there on the screen, 212-757-1538, and we'll take your calls. Right, David Henderson, you know, when you see this incredible picture and all the pictures in here, and the thing is, those 60s rock stars who died so young and their images were captured in their youth, and you never see them getting old. You know, he'll always be a 27-year-old young man, you know, at the height of his powers, you know, and you know, seen with naked women running around and wearing his incredible fashion statements. He was a brilliant fashionista.
Yeah, let's talk about his clothes. I would love to discuss that.
Right. Tell us, a little bit about the man and what it was
his style,
what drove his style.
Well, the thing about the East Village, again, is that these women, Stella Douglas and Colette Mimram, they had a shop on 9th Street and 2nd Avenue. And that's where I would see him a lot, because he was in there all the time, because they were his designers. He had his own personal designers, and they were really good. So he was beautiful. They really made him up to look great.
Yeah.
And
incredible style. The clothes were amazing.
Now, these women were fabulous.
Axis Bold as Love, they have him in a Vishnu and a Hindu type of scene. He didn't like that very much, did he? Or?
Well, no, but the thing
he wanted to have another image. Like, didn't he have a Native American background?
Well, you know, the album cover artwork was always controversial because they were always trying to get, you know, it was always a not quite sure decision, and there were multiple images. I remember Linda McCartney, Paul McCartney's late wife, had done some photos for Electric Ladyland that was supposed to be on there, and somehow they got put to the back and stuff, and it was a big deal, and it was like, and even this woman, Monica Danneman, she thought that she would do his album covers, which to me is the weirdest thing to hear of in the world. But the thing about Axis Bold as Love, his second LP, of the 3 that he actually was alive to participate in at the time of their release, it has a thing about the Axis and about the Mecca, and about the most holy spot in Mecca. It has this mystical, you know, Islamic thing with it, which I thought was really fascinating.
It
Well,
is
he's a brilliant
fascinating.
writer too, because we talk about his guitar playing, but his songs are fun to listen to. I mean, he was a poet, and I read, you know, he wrote some poetry even as a teenager. What was his writing style? Did he carry a notebook and scribble down ideas?
Oh,
or?
definitely, and that's one of the aspects of the book I deal with as I get into his notebooks, and he had a lot of celestial theories, and he would write down his feelings, and write down
Oh,
a
so
lot
you
of
had
stuff in
access to journals of his.
Well, you know, almost everything of his has been like, people have transcribed his journals, there's all these books of photographs, there's even a chronology now of his life. It's amazing. Not that it's all completely accurate, but it's amazing. I think that he is probably one of the most documented of the rock artists. And I like to think that my book, the original Jimi Hendrix Little Child, had a lot to do with it.
Show a picture of it again, the cover.
But he wrote a lot, and he put a lot of things in the form of a song or a ballad. But he was a very serious writer. And some of those 1983 A Merman I Should Be.
Was he a political guy? I mean, so many of his songs, Machine Gun and all these things, I saw them as almost anthems of the 60s radical anti-war movement.
And yet he was called apolitical.
Yeah, what was that? It was just like caught on to the style, or with...
You know, some of these writers, like, that's another thing about those recent books. They called him apolitical, or he was colorblind, and the British, for some reason, are very afraid of the Black Panthers. Well, after being in Britain, I know why, because they need a black uprising over there. But they're afraid of this black thing. So they said, oh, Jimmy's colorblind. Well, he made vocal statements in support of the Black Panthers. He wrote songs for them. He gave them money. The Panther 21 were in jail in New York almost during the entire time he was there. And Tupac Shakur's mother was one of the Panther 21, and he donated money to that. I don't think he knew Tupac was coming, but she was pregnant. He played probably the main. He played the Vietnam Moratorium concert at Madison Square Garden, which was sabotage, but he had enough courage as a big star to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought I was very impressed with that.
What are the stories I've heard that he was dosed or poisoned at some point?
Oh, at the concert, yes, he was.
Somebody put something. You have to really be careful in those days what you drank or what you left a glass or a can of soda out.
You have to always be careful.
Well, you know, it was not only a committee to re-elect the president, which was Nixon's, but they were into dirty tricks and into other types of skullduggery. Some that were, you know, like trying to get Martin Luther King to commit suicide.
I see.
He was what?
So he was a victim of that.
I think so. Yes, I actually believe in it, because this was right before he went on stage.
Right.
And his manager, this British guy, Michael Jeffries, who died, the late Michael Jeffries, was against him doing this. So there was, and he was they were very sensitive to the American political scene.
Right.
And of course the youth culture at that time, you have to remember, was really powerful.
Yeah.
The governments were trembling at the youth culture, you know. So Jimi Hendrix, you know, playing anti-Vietnam.
Right, Machine Gun, I think. You know, how does he say this? And for the boys of the war too. You know, right? He says, he just throws it off.
Right.
And all right, I love that line.
And he plays. I'm sorry. And he plays Berkeley.
And now,
and he says, and for the people at People's Park. He played Berkeley during People's Park Riot. I was there, and he makes a reference.
All right, that was like the California Tompkins Square Park riot.
So these are obvious references to a political awareness on his part.
Very political.
They shot it, that one. The one in Berkeley, they shot.
Yeah, Jimmy plays Berkeley. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, Flower Power. You cannot leave that out, because that was very.
He was like a founder of all that. I mean,
well, he was an icon.
He loved Bob Dylan, didn't he? He really respected Bob Dylan.
He worshipped Bob Dylan, because of course when he was on McDougal Street,
yeah,
Bob Dylan was the guy, you know.